Today's episode is brought to you by the Vegas Beer Guys. The Everything Sequel podcast contains explicit language. You have been forewarned. Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel podcast. This is the Tremors edition. We're ranking today. My name is Michael Shantz. I'm from the How Dare You Awards. Joining me in this delicious adventure is my good friend and co-host, Tom Stewart from Lonesome Whistle Productions. Hi, Tom.
Hey everyone, buckle your shoe straps and pack a meat sandwich. We are under attack. I think the sole function of Burt Gummer in these movies is to give me quotables for this podcast.
For sure.
That can be the only reason they give him so many perfect one-liners.
The very idea of a meat sandwich.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Those two words together are just fabulous.
Yeah, the imagery that is produced by Burt Gummer's turn of phrase, it deserves its own book.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting to the Tremors series. We got a lot of these. This idea was given to us.
A fuckload, I believe, is the term.
A fuckload of movies for the Tremors series. This idea was given to us by a listener.
Yeah.
Zach Clemo got to us on Instagram and asked us what he thought of the Tremors series or when we're going to do it. Full disclosure, I know Zach personally. In fact, we used to work together. There was another guy we used to work with. His name was Zabo. And I remember sending a message to everyone saying that their last names sound like, one sounds like a disease and the other thing sounds like the thing that causes that disease. As in, I caught the Clemo and now I have full-blown Zabo.
But
don't catch the Clemo, kids.
It also sounds like you're trying to corner the Z market of the phone book when it comes to friends.
Right. So this one's for you, buddy.
Yeah, and you know what?
And I gotta say, thank you.
Yeah, I will say a preemptive thank you as well. And those two people are not the only people who've approached us about doing the Tremors series. Isn't that right, Mike?
That's true. That's true.
Do you want to name check? Well, you have one, and I have another one that you don't even know about.
Oh, okay.
So
well, my good friend Kristen Fogel said, when are you going to do the Tremors series? And I said, wait, you've seen the Tremors movies? Because this is a person who sees maybe one movie every 10 years in a movie theater.
Right.
So the idea that she loves the Tremors series delights me to no end.
Although it does sort of make sense because none of the movies we're talking about have ever been anywhere near a movie theater.
Yeah.
My very own wife, Jeannie Irish, just apropos of nothing, said, "You know what's a really good series? Tremors." I think. I mean, it's crazy. It's this unspoken affection out there for this series. I guess it explains why this series is ongoing.
Also, yeah, they're right. I love this series.
Well,
I think this series is amazing. I did not realize until we started watching these movies that I literally had not seen a single one of the sequels.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I've been through so many emotions with this series. I had a moment when I was looking at my DVR, and there were art house, cinema, foreign movies, a TCM retrospective on Buster Keaton I haven't touched, and
I'm too busy with Burt.
I thought to myself, I can't watch any of those right now because I have to watch Tremors 2 Aftershocks. But you know what? That was just pure snobbery because I would have never seen these movies under any other circumstances.
Right.
And, they're an uneven bunch, but there are some real highs here.
Yeah. I agree.
And, more to the point, we've done a lot of big franchises on this podcast. But this, I think, is more our bread and butter. When you dig a little deeper into a well-known movie and you find out that there is a fuckload of video sequels that are ongoing. And, to that point, the final movie in this series, Tremors Shrieker Island, is our first ever new release that we're going to cover.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But by the time this
literally came out days ago.
By the time it's released,
at the time of the recording of this podcast, right?
But certainly we're looking at it a week after it was released into the world. And you want to know how contemporary Shrieker Island is? There's a reference to COVID in it.
Yeah. Holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, so, to your point, I just have nothing but affection for these movies. I just think they're delightful.
They are delightful, and, I've tried to be as objective as possible, but my affection is series-wide, but, we're forced to make some tough decisions. I think that's what the ranking segment's all about, and I've made those tough decisions. But I am not going to be. I'm not going to be speaking about. I'm not going to be making any criticisms with any kind of vitriol.
No, yeah, me either.
If I don't like something, it really is just It's usually because something in another part of the series really impressed me and made what that was
right.
shit.
Maybe Maybe it pales by comparison to something else in the series. But
don't get me wrong, this was a delightful experience, and it was not one I was expecting to be so thoroughly enjoyable.
Right, and that's the thing is, when you throw out even just the very idea of direct to video, that in and of itself is usually a moniker for less quality.
Yes.
Now, if somebody made that argument that these are of less quality than, say, the theatrical release, you might say they're right, but you could say they're wrong. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about this series is what's good and not good in each movie and as the story moves along. And, I mean, this is a set of sequels where you don't even know the full capabilities or evolution of the creatures themselves until the third movie.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I mean, you have that you certainly have that in your mind when you're watching them, that this is direct to video. I don't want to give too much away about my feelings about these films, but I have to say, we see in these movies the evolution of the direct to video sequel and how it's basically leveled out with cinema.
Right.
I mean, by the time you get to Shrieker Island, it's really hard to see how this would be in any way different from a theatrical release. And I was trying to. This is another. I mean, is this the longest period of time that we've discussed on this podcast? It's up there.
It must be.
It's definitely up there.
The only one that comes close is Die Hard.
Right. Well, I think this is more than that. Yeah. And I was tracking, what's going on in movies at this time. What's the kind of height of how things are supposed to look and sound. Each time I saw the movie, I'm like looking for comparables. And each time I was, I thought, well, this, okay, these digital effects don't look great, but this is no better or worse than The Phantom Menace.
Right. Yeah,
so exactly. I'm thinking. These are, these are certainly, that they own the fact that they are video, and that
that's the thing.
You want to kind of compare them to TV or the internet rather than cinema, but I actually think they do a good job whichever way you look at them. I think there's some great filmmaking here. There's some real filmmaking
I agree
aptitude.
Completely. Yeah. And they really are interesting in the sense of you watch how the movies grow as effects grow and how they use them.
Yeah.
And like I said before, like they're really keen on leaning into what they are.
Yeah, definitely.
With no apologies. And it's just, it's just like another check mark for something I really love about the series.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we'll be all gummed out by the end of this series. But just to bring up the fact that Michael Gross as Burt Gummer is in every single one of these movies.
Yeah, Burt Gummer is there.
I'll say that again.
Haul.
Michael Gross as Burt Gummer is in every single one of these movies. And when you're not cognizant of that fact as you go into the movie, it is surprising every time. But this, this is this kind of the series really discovers itself through the character of Burt Gummer. Like, once it realizes that this is the guy we want to go through this journey with. Well, him and his ancestors.
Yeah.
Then I think, the comfort level of the series just takes off.
Yeah, I agree.
And we're kind of coasting from movie to movie almost.
Yeah. No.
And I think that's all about Michael Gross, actually.
Yes. Absolutely.
And the fact that, we're not constantly having to come up with a Burt Gummer clone every time.
Right.
I mean, all of his colleagues,
people he works with are yes, they must reinvent that almost every movie.
The fact that one of them is
but he is the constant.
The fact that one of them is even his son doesn't mean he's necessarily going to make it into the next movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. He is this fixed point in the series, and that automatically puts it above so many other series where we have to deal with a change of cast every single time.
Yeah.
Because just the time that takes, the effort that takes, the kind of right around, the workarounds.
Well, that can weigh your movie down.
And I think it does at the beginning
for exposition and narrative.
Yes.
When you have to reintroduce new people all the time, and with Burt Gummer there the whole time and the constant, there's just something that really works with his being there all the time. That and it's funny because they do have to introduce new characters, but to me it's something they can do quicker and not, like I said, not weigh the movie down with lots of long exposition and wind for the first, say, half hour,
Well, when you're watching these movies, look out for the number of times that anyone asks a question about why Burt Gummer's doing something, and the response is, he's Burt.
Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know about, we have an established kind of behavior that we associate with Burt Gummer that we never need to explain.
Right.
And, coincidentally, that is Burt Gummer is what we would now consider the worst person in the world. But...
Well, and that's the thing. So that's the thing. What I find fascinating about this series is we have all... If you're a fan of the series, you have found a way to connect with and fall in love with a character that you would be diametrically opposed to, say politically, in real life in this time right now. And that's quite a feat, I think.
That is a feat. Another huge feat is it's kind of like when you have to put these out of date characters into new movies like that they do in the Bond film cycle. But they have to work through...
Everything comes back to Bond for you,
for me, yeah, of course it does. Um, okay, it's a sequel podcast, so I'm going to talk about a franchise in which there are no sequels. But they have to work through history changing and history changing our idea of what Burt Gummer is, and we have to find a way in which we can still make him a hero, despite the fact that society has moved on beyond him. And I think these movies do a great job of doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We certainly see the story through his perspective, but these movies are not uncritical towards his point of view.
Sure.
And that's I mean, I don't know if it's just because they're working under the radar in VOD, but you don't see that a lot. You see, I mean, if you think about the Dark Knight films and the moral and political quandaries that Batman's behavior raises, that none of those are ever dealt with.
Sure.
He gets away with essentially fascism, but everyone all the time is calling out Burt for being a right-wing psycho.
Yeah.
And yet he's still able to withstand that and be the hero of the movie, and to me that's good writing.
Yeah. I agree. And we'll get to it in each separate film, but I have to say the one thing I was really struck by and impressed by in these movies was the care with the writing within a ridiculous scope of nonsense of a story.
Yes.
Of these earthworms, these underground creatures.
Let's not forget that these are movies about, worms.
Subterranean worms.
We are talking about these movies as if they are not about worms. They are about worms.
But in almost every instance, there is a care to give Burt especially an arc in each film. And that's really, I just think that's wonderful.
There is a huge, and not just Burt as well, there is a huge emphasis in this series, and something that I really appreciate because they kind of don't really need to do it, and a lot of sequels don't, and we're fine with it, is that the things that people say and do in previous movies impact on the later movies.
Yeah, right.
All the time. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it now, but there is a huge circle back at one point in these movies to something that you have completely forgotten, which drives the plot of a later movie. And you have to really dig back into the franchise to find it. And I appreciate that level of detail, especially as the gaps between these movies are so huge. It's like years and decades.
they have long years in between sequels.
But they never forget where they've come from, which is huge for a sequel. And some of the big budget sequels, the Halloweens and the Friday the 13th could really do with following Tremors' example.
Right.
In terms of continuity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into this.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking a while, and we need to rank these movies. Now, there's so many of them.
Yes.
How do you want to do it? You want to just tell me your favorite first, and then I'll tell you my favorite?
Sure.
And we'll just kind of go down the line?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. What is your favorite Tremors sequel?
Tremors 4, The Legend Begins.
Oh, okay. I'm really glad you said that. Because it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
I have one movie ahead of it, and it's Tremors 5, Bloodlines.
Oh my God! We are going to have a discussion, young man.
I love that movie.
Whoa! I did not see that coming.
For me, that movie... What I love about that movie is the...
Racism?
No. But the effects finally catch up to the story.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just wonderful stuff in it. But
anyway,
yes. Tremors 4: The Legend Begins is my second favorite movie.
Okay, my second favorite movie is Tremors 3: Back to Perfection.
Okay. We're getting of like minds.
Bloodlines. We are not on like minds.
No, I understand that, but I mean, for me, the Tremors 3 is my third favorite movie. So putting aside our favorites,
it's nice to have one to disagree about. Otherwise, this would be a strange podcast.
Agreed. But I like 5, 4, 3.
Okay.
Right now, I know that you like 4, 3. What's your third favorite?
7, Tremors Shrieker Island.
Really?
Holy mother of God, I love that movie. Anyway. Okay, yeah, Shrieker Island. This is a film I saw last week.
Yeah,
and it's the third favorite in a series that I love. So, I like that movie.
I like that movie too. But I really struggled between that and Tremors 2 Aftershocks.
Okay, so that's your next one?
No, at the end of the day, I did go Shrieker Island, then Tremors 2 Aftershocks, and finishing up with Tremors 6, which is, I don't even remember.
Cold Day in Hell.
Cold Day in Hell, thank you.
Okay. So Shrieker Island, then I'm going to do Aftershocks.
Okay.
Then I'm going to do Bloodlines. And then I'm going to do Cold Day in Hell.
So really the only place where we vehemently disagree are where we place Bloodlines.
Yeah, and I don't actively dislike Bloodlines. I just had to make some tough calls based on the quality of the other movies.
All right. Oh, we've got stuff to talk about then.
Yeah.
I'm glad that, I was so fascinated to see what would happen when you have, a 732 sequels. And, I mean, we could have been so vastly different, but we're pretty close.
Relatively, we're pretty close. And the other thing is, like, when you said you like Bloodlines, my reaction was like, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't Why that not? Much, but go for it. I can think of 1 or 2 scenes in that movie now I absolutely adore. So
yeah. There are things I appreciate about that movie. I like the idea of bringing in the sun. I like
the idea of bringing in the sun. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah, we'll have more to talk about later.
We'll have more to talk about. I was not expecting it to be Jamie Kennedy, but there we go.
But biggest shock of the series for me. I said to myself,
he's the real Spanish Inquisition of this series.
Absolutely. I think I'm a little bit relieved that we both have A Cold Day in Hell last.
Yeah, that's the movie where I see the most egregious problems.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
There's too many fucking people in that movie.
Way too many.
There's enough people in there for all 6 movies.
Yeah.
And you'd still have a few left over that you could cut out.
It's also, we've all heard of day for night shots. I have never in my life heard of sand for snow shots.
Oh my God. We should do video on demand every week.
That was fantastic. But just
we also have to talk about that. We'll definitely get. We'll have to talk about that director. I can't recall his name now. But his resume is extraordinary.
Oh, I hit my door. Sorry, say that again.
His resume is extraordinary. The director of the last few, I think from Bloodlines onwards. Yeah.
Did he do Bloodlines?
Live
Yeah,
fact checking here on Everything Sequel.
There you go. That's the thing. I mean, there's so many of these fucking movies.
Yeah.
I gotta flip. Now, do you think it's a bad movie, A Cold Day in Hell?
Yes.
Or do you think any of the other movies are bad?
God, this is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I feel I'm completely. I feel like I am a bigot about these movies. You know, I know what I like,
right,
and I know what I don't like. I just know it when I see it. But that's hard to sort of narrow down to a single movie.
I definitely think A Cold Day in Hell was a bad movie.
It's a misfire, yeah.
It's just a misfire.
Which is a shame because it has one of the most interesting storylines. I just think it's just too cluttered with people. That is literally, you take 10 people out of that cast, you've got a good movie, I think. But no, that's a bad movie. Bloodlines, I don't know. Bloodlines and Aftershocks, I don't know.
Okay, that's interesting because I mean, I like Bloodlines. I think that's a good movie, but at the end of the day, I said they were all good movies, saving A Cold Day in Hell, but Tremors 2 Aftershocks was the other one where I just wasn't sure which way to go.
Okay, let's do this. Let's split the difference. I'll say Bloodlines is a bad movie and Aftershocks is a good movie, and you say Aftershocks is a bad movie and Bloodlines is a good movie. And let's just...
And well, we can,
You know what? Because, I mean, we both admitted we could go either way on either of those. Well, no, we couldn't. You wouldn't go either way on Bloodlines, but I'm willing to devil's advocate it.
I agree. That's fine.
Yeah, because I made these decisions a few days ago, and then I was looking through my notes at Aftershocks, and I was like, God, there's so much good stuff in there.
Exactly. That's my problem. There's so much that I like in that movie.
I think we'll talk about it, and you know, our next episode.
But that movie to me is we should wait. You're right.
But I'm gonna say I think it is just before the series finds its feet, and that's hard to get over when you've seen the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying it's a good movie, so maybe you should voice those criticisms.
Ditto. All right. Well, we did it.
Yeah, I don't remember what we did, but we did it.
Yeah, it's on record.
Someone out here is writing this down.
I hope we can remember it when we start the movies. But officially, they are ranked and declared good or bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the ranking and declaring of good or bad. Zach, Kristen, Jeannie, let us know. What do you think? Did we get it right?
I doubt Jeannie's going to remember which movie's which.
Fantastic.
If I struggle, she's definitely going to struggle.
If any of you or any other listeners have a grievance, go ahead and find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Send us an email to everythingsequel at gmail.com. And just like Zach and Kristen, you may get on air, as well as Tom's wife. Fantastic. It's just personal friends so far.
Well, that's okay.
I'd like to fight with a stranger.
Hey, what you do in your spare time, we cannot judge you for.
All right. That's it for Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. My name is Michael Schatz from the How Dare You Awards. We'll be seeing you soon.
Do you feel that, Michael? Do you feel that?
What?
Those aftershocks?
Is it a shock?
They're coming.
Coming up next, Tremors 2 Aftershocks. Say bye, Tom.
Oh, yeah, another one.
You finished?
Yes.
I like to think I know something about beer, but nowadays even I get overwhelmed when confronted by the exhaustive selection of craft beers they have at bars, breweries, and even grocery stores. Back in the day you had one, maybe two craft beers to choose from, and if you were confused, you ordered a Guinness. But in beerstinations like San Diego, the craft beer options lately are in double, sometimes even triple digits. So what's a beer drinker to do? You need what I need, the Vegas Beer Guys. Your beer of choice should be a perfect blend of malt and hops. And so a live show about beer needs that same balance. And the Vegas Beer Guys matches beer expert Dan Aker with self-proclaimed beer novice Stephen J. Weiss. The results are eminently drinkable. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They'll try new beers, they'll tell you about beer. Think of them as your beer Sherpas guiding you up a foamy-headed mountain to reach the peak of your pint. God, I need a beer.